Okay, it's time for another look at some of these vintage Gothic romance paperbacks. Starting this video with these three. This is a Lancer book by Dorothy Daniels, who is apparently a real author, although some people say that her husband wrote all of these books. This is called The Sevier Secrets. It's got a rather nice arty-farty drawing, although someone has coloured in the letters with coloured pens. This is what happens when you buy books from online sellers who don't show you pictures. So I've fallen foul of this several times. You sometimes get a damaged cover. But that's on the Lancer publication label, so that's quite nice. This is a really old Ace one, Phyllis A. Whitney, Thunder Heights. This is billed as Rebecca and Wuthering Heights. Well, they all are, pretty much. These Gothic novels, they all borrow from Rebecca and Wuthering Heights. Reasonably nice drawing of a castle and a young woman. Really bad drawing of the same castle. That's like a 12-year-old drawing of a castle on the back. Horrible drawing. The cover, at least the front cover, is a bit better than that. This artist does a lot of these covers. Some of his architectural skill is a bit lacking. He's okay at drawing human figures. He draws a lot of these yellow flowers on black twigs. These are all over his artwork. So they're very easy to identify. And some very long Spanish moss on that one. And then this is another Magnum one. This is The Witch Tree by Lyda Belknap Long. The cover's a bit rubbed and scuffed. Again, if you buy a sight unseen, some of these old books have not stood the test of time very well, and sometimes the covers have the colour rubbed off a little bit, which is a bit of a shame. Not a very thick book. Yeah, another Lancer copy there. Then a couple more Lancer ones. This is a really nice copy of a Virginia Kaufman novel called Black Heather. I've seen this with at least two other covers, maybe three. This is the one I wanted to get because it's got such a gloomy picture of a graveyard, a house and a woman. The other editions of Black Heather have different covers. This is the only one I wanted. It's not in great condition, but I got it because I wanted that cover. Here's Mass for a Dead Witch by Alicia Grace. There's that artist again. He hasn't put the yellow flowers on his black twigs this time, but he's got the very same style of heroine and house in the background. This was when Lancer and Magnum released all their stories with the same font on the spine and on the front, so they look quite nice when they're in a pile together. And here's another Virginia Kaufman. Actually, I've already got this one, so I just put them together because for the Virginia Kaufman novels, they gave her own headlining name at the top, and they used the same font for the book title, so those look quite nice as a set. But yeah, not much in the way of consistency there. Here's another, this is another Magnum. Again, they've used that font again, so as you can see, if you've got a lot of these, there is a nice consistency in the style of the spines. Not a great picture. I don't like the picture where there's a face blending half into a house in the background and there's an awful lot of blue. Not too horrible. Dark Memories, though, is such a corny title. The titles of these books start to become interchangeable. Dark Memories and The Dark of Memory and The Waiting Darkness and The Dark Threshold. They just use words that sound sinister, and dark and darkness come up very, very frequently. So there's a whole theme about books that are something to do with being in the dark. Let's move on. Here's another, this is not a new one. This is The Loom of Terror. Again, this is a bit rubbed, this cover. This is not hard to get. There are copies of this all over online sales sites. But it is notable for being this like pink, purple and orange painting, which is really hard to see the detail of because pink, purple and orange do not sit nicely side by side. But I can just about make out a staircase and some kind of porch and stained glass window. This is about a weaving loom which holds the clue to a secret. It's a really silly story. Even though it's such a fat book, it's a really slight story. In fact, as fat books go, Magnum and Lancer were experts at that. Here's another one of their, let's call this the Fat Book series. This is The Haunted by Alice Brennan. Not a bad picture, although that house looks like a bit of an old shack, like some old farmhouse. And then loads of space. I mean, artists who designed paperback book covers left space in the composition for the text to be put on top, but I think that's rather too much. And the house is so near the top. It's a very unbalanced picture. So I can think of a nice, I might have centered that a bit better if that was me. But another fat book. They're always thick. There's there's a trend of very thick Lancer and Magnum books. These two over here, which I've shown before, Winter Evil and The Dark of Summer. These are the fat ones in the Lancer and Magnum range. That will fill up your bookshelf in no time if you're buying books of that size. The paper is thick though. Sometimes the paper is thick and the font is large. So although they are thick and weigh a lot, that doesn't mean there's more reading material in the book. Now we've got a couple of Avon. This is called Legacy of Loneliness. Quite an elegant title. Again, Avon really suffer from the print being rubbed off on the covers. You can see there's some white scuff marks on that. That's just from age and being stored and rubbed together with another book. Looks like there's quite a nice house in the background. I've seen this artist before. The ladies always have very silky dresses. So she looks very elegant and appropriately scared. Oh, she's holding a dog. Didn't notice that. The rare example of Gothic plus dog. Not bad. The spine is quite good on that one. But again, because it's Avon, it's rubbed. And this one is even worse. Again, if you buy a book where you can't see a picture of the copy you're getting, this is what might happen. I can barely make out a book and a candlestick and a lady, but other than that, I have no idea what is this. Presumably it's inside, but that's really sadly damaged. I don't think I'm going to keep that copy. But that's The House on Mount Vernon Street by W.E.D. Ross, a name that comes up frequently in Gothics. Yeah, that's a shame. Those Avon books do not wear well. So let's now move on to my favourite series, which is Popular Library Queen Size Gothic. This one is a nice sturdy one called The Inheritance by Parley J. Cooper. I've seen other books by this writer and he often writes quite well. Maybe it's a she, I don't know. This has got a nice cover of just the door of the house with the heroine looking like she's suffering. Don't worry, they haven't missed out the classic image of the light in the window, because there it is right at the top. There is a light in the window, just barely visible, so they still get their points for having a single light on in the window. But that's quite dramatic. Again, it's a fat one. Popular Library also did very thick books, so that's quite fun. This is a really nice one. This is called That Dark Inn by Sarah Nichols. That's a pseudonym for a male writer. So many of these people are not real people, even they're not even real women. They are male writers. That's a really nice house and a lady running away in the grass. Always nice to see Queen Size Gothic in the title. Someone's inherited, they're always inheritances, these Gothics. This innocent girl inherits something and then she gets bullied and harassed for her inheritance. Here's one I just found by chance. This is called A Place of Mischief by Eleanor Elford Cameron. That's a nice painting of the lady, and that's a nice painting of the house too. It seems to be on the edge of the sea because I can see water in the background, but that's a really nice depiction of a sun and a house. I'm very happy with that one, and it's in quite, actually that's really good condition. I haven't really looked at that to see how well that's been stored over the years. Yeah, I'm very happy with that one. Then we've got this one, which is Dorothy Daniels again. We looked at one of hers earlier on. She was married to someone called Norman Daniels, as I said earlier. There are people out there who think he did all the writing and she was just a figurehead for the romance novels. No one really knows if she wrote them or if Norman Daniels wrote them all. A lady by rather shacked style looking mill, I guess that is. And this is this is another series which is where everything is pink. Making everything pink seems to be a theme in some of these books. Not a romantic pink, just a rather kind of feverish pink. We could look at some of these side by side. Haunting of Clifton Court. The Sea Tower. I just grabbed 4 at random. And Ghost River Inn. If you're a fan of deep pink, Gothic romance novels are there for you. People seem to love making everything pink in these books. In fact, those as a set look extremely similar, don't they? Yeah, whitish blue dresses, pink sky. That's quite funny when you analyse them side by side like that. But the Tide Mill was the new one, and that again, that's a nice condition copy. Sometimes they're really ruined. Again, you never know until you get it home. And then a few more popular library to finish off. Stages of Terror by Bettina Kingsley. That's a real house. I've seen pictures of that. It's somewhere in the United States. It's a tourist attraction now, that house, because it's been renovated and beautifully well kept. But it's used as a reference picture for a lot of artists. Again, the girl with the head fading into the house is not my favourite style, but she looks suitably scared. So, ghost-ridden romance. Wow, another one with a good spine. It's so nice when the spines aren't creased. Yeah, so that'll be a nice one to hang on to. This one I don't think I'm going to keep. This is called Winter Shade by Elaine Evans. I've read some Elaine Evans books and they're never very good. Again, I don't know if that's a real person. It's normally worth seeing who the copyright name is. I would just say Elaine Evans. Sometimes that's a giveaway, but I have a feeling that's a pseudonym. Anyway, she's on the beach. And there's a rather forlorn looking house, but it does have a light in the window, so that's good. But I don't know why she's holding a towel over her head. That doesn't do anything for me. And the title is kind of dull. So no, not a fan of that. And then the last one for this video, The Twisted Cameo by Catherine Kimbrough. That's a male writer called, I think he's called John Kimbrough. But he uses Catherine to write his romance novels. Again, she's in a kind of elegant dress, and that's a castle, I think, in the background with some rather odd windows. Some are huge, some are tiny. So architect was having a funny moment when he designed that house. But Queen Size Gothics are still the best series, I think, when you're a Gothic fan. That's another one with a good spine. I've been really lucky with these ones to have ones that have actually been owned by careful readers in the past. But once again, a girl living in an old mansion. They don't tend to stray away from that very often. That's it for today. Hope you enjoyed that look.